Welcome to Vintage Gaming Memories. Shall we play a game?
Lego, a whole new world to build.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Well, as you can see, this is not going to be an unboxing video. I actually picked this up from Costco last week, but I also pre-ordered it on Amazon a couple months ago, and I just forgot to cancel it. So I guess I could have used that one for the unboxing. But anyways, here we are. This is the Lego Game Boy number 72046. Now, if you frequent the channel, you probably noticed that I don't do Lego builds, but I did do a video on 3 small nano blocks, and it was a video that I made about, probably over 2 years ago, one of my first ones, and those nano blocks were Pac-Man related. I'll put the link in the description and above if you dare to check it out. But this one I thought would be kind of fun because I'll just time-lapse it, test my patience with this. There's really no cleaning, no polishing, no repair or troubleshooting to do with it. And it should be pretty fun to see how this turns out because I do have the original Game Boy, which I did purchase for the first time in my life earlier this year. And there's a video on that one as well. Now, I know I totally missed the boat when it came out in the late 80s, but then again, I had other interests that took over. And here is the original Game Boy, so we're going to do a nice comparison once we put this one together. And let's just see exactly how close it looks to the original. Well, I think first we should look at this box before we break this open and get all the pieces out. Looks like there's going to be 421 pieces to be exact. No light, sound, or digital play functions will be in this Lego piece. So just for display purposes, as we would assume. Interesting, too, to see that it's for ages 18 and over. You can hear all the pieces moving around, all 421 pieces. Let's see what else we got here on the sides. Some warnings about the size of the pieces being dangerous around little children. And you also get 2 cartridges with this, so that's going to be kind of cool to see how that looks. And then there's the back, along with the size. 5.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So we'll check to see how close that is to the actual Game Boy. All right, enough of this. Let's open this up and sort everything out. So what do we have here? We have 5 bags. We're going to go in order. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and bag 5. Then we have, looks like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is going to be on the display. You can see how it actually looks like it's moving when you tilt it. The back cover. Well, that's pretty cool. 1989, April 21st. That's the year I think that was released. Anyways, we have that. We have some stickers that will be for the cartridge. The 2 cartridges that we have. And then, of course, what we definitely need is the instructions. We're going to have some fun. I'm just going to go through all this and hopefully it won't take too long. And we'll have a cool product at the end. All right, bag number 1 is completed. Cool looking cartridge. And this will sit in a tray, just like the picture shows. And here it is right here. It's going to sit in its little holding spot. It's got a couple hooks there in the bottom. And it will hook right on as such. So we are done with bag 1. On to bag 2. Bag 2 completed. Should look like that. And I think it looks like it. Onward to bag 3. You can see now how the D-pad works, nice and spongy, because of that little spongy rubber that was underneath there. That is it for bag number 3. And this is step 108. And this is what we got. Looks pretty good. So this was the end of bag 4, and look at that. It looks pretty cool. You can see Nintendo with the startup screen as it goes down from the top. So one more bag left to go. Bag number 5. This looks pretty quick and easy to do, I think. Just like that. Pretty cool. All right, the last cartridge and the last item to put together is done. And it's the Zelda one. I think this took me a total of 2 hours to put this together. I did take a break, about a 10-minute break in between there. As you can see, we finished it. It was this step. And all we have to do now is insert it into the Game Boy. And it should look just like that, right? All right, let's go ahead and do that. Well, we can't really insert it. Well, we can, I guess. Let me just show you how that sounds and looks. Look at that snapping in. Sounds perfect. But we really can't have that in because it looks like it's just waiting for a cartridge to go in. As you can see the Nintendo scrolling down as I tilt it. So let's change that out. Very simple. Open the battery cover. This little lever just moves back and forth easily. It just holds it in place. We'll change that screen. And we'll put the right one in there, which, let's see, we only have 2 other choices. Well, it's not going to be Mario World. We're going to use this one instead. So we'll drop that in. Battery cover back on. Put Zelda in. Snaps. Oh, we got to power it on. There you go. I think you have how many movements here? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. I guess 2. Still pretty cool, huh? Buttons feel great. The D-pad also feels nice and spongy, as you saw how I put that together. And the select and start has some nice sponginess to it as well. You saw that one in. I just dropped these little spongy wheels in. The contrast has got a nice little wheel. It spins easily. On the other side, we have volume. That also spins nice and easy. As you saw on the top is the power on and off switch. On the bottom, we have the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And on the back, again, you have the battery cover and the vents for the speaker on the front. Looks awesome. Now the only thing we have to do is really kind of compare this with the actual Game Boy and see how closely it truly matches up with it, specifically with the size and features that are shown. Let's go ahead and do a comparison directly with a real Game Boy. So let's look first, just a side-by-side comparison. And, you know, besides the color, this original Game Boy and this Lego Game Boy looks pretty close. I mean, there's a little bit of differences, and I can't be picky about it, but I'll just call them out. The D-pad's smaller on the original, as well as the buttons. And they're a little bit kind of different color, I guess. A little bit more of a reddish color than purple on the original. The speaker slots, there's 6. There's also 6 on the Lego, which is good. The select start, a little bit different, but you know, what do you expect? It's the layout. and the actual shape of everything that looks very similar. Now the fonts are exactly the same for Nintendo and Game Boy, as well as the stripes here, these lines, the purple and blue, then dot matrix with stereo sound. You can see that is identical. You have the on-off switch on top, which is more prominent on the Lego. And of course, you're going to see a lot of these little lines because they're Lego pieces. What can you do about that? Let's take a look at the bottom. This is the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and that looks pretty good. Look at the right side, and we don't have these little, aesthetic looking louvers, I guess you can call it, on the curved part for the Lego. So that's missing, but that's all right. The volume looks good, and then you have the external connector cover there that's kind of closed up on the original, and it's got the little image of a little connector with the Lego. Looking on the opposite side, we have that same part with the curve where it doesn't have it on the Lego. It's just smooth. Again, you can see the Lego pieces, so overlook that. Contrast looks good. Different shape, but still. And then we look at the top. You have your power on-off switch, and then you have your slot for your cartridge. Don't have a cartridge in the actual Game Boy, so we'll put one in there just to see how it looks. There we go. And then the back of this, you can see that looks pretty good, actually. What would be kind of cool to see is maybe if they had holes here on each, like maybe, 4 holes for the screws? Not to put screws, but just put holes in there to make it look like there would be screws on the Lego. And let's take a look at the cartridge as far as the comparison of a real cartridge and a Lego. Could you tell the difference? Pretty good. I think obviously in the back you're going to know the difference, but still. All right, now let's do a little bit of the sound test. Not really sound with electronics, but just the sound of the push of the buttons and maybe the sliding of the switch. It's very spongy. More clicky on the actual Game Boy. The D-pad, you're not going to really hear anything. It's about the same, actually. This has that rubber part underneath it. And, oh, power on and off. Let's hear that. For the Lego, it slides really nice. And then on the real Game Boy, there's no batteries in this, so we don't have to worry. A little bit of different sound, but still pretty neat. Oh, let's go and put a cartridge in. That's another sound we can hear. Let's make sure to put the Lego one in the Lego. A little bit of a click. And an actual cartridge in a Game Boy sounds like this. A little bit different sound. All right, so I have to say this is a really good rendition of an actual Game Boy. I think next we can do is check out the weight. I'm curious how close they are in that sense. We'll take the cartridge out of both. And let's get some room here. Here's a scale. We'll go in grams. All right, so we'll put the actual real Game Boy on the scale first. That comes at 222 grams. The Lego Game Boy comes in at 197, so a little bit lighter. Since we have the scale out, let's check out the cartridges. We'll go with the real Tetris one. That comes in at 19 grams. And a Lego cartridge, 21 grams, very close. So not too bad, it's not too far off. Now I have some specs I pulled off online for the actual Game Boy, and we can do a real comparison with that with the Lego, but I want to first see how close those specs are with a real Game Boy in my hand. And I'm going to do that with a nice digital caliper that I always use. We'll go with millimeters, zero that out. And the first number I have, the width says 90 millimeters. So let's see if that really is 90. .1, pretty accurate, I'd say. And then it says the height is 148 millimeters. Zero out just to make sure. Let's see, 148, 147.5. And then the depth is 32. And we can do that probably in the base side of it because there's more room to grab on. So 32. 32.1, pretty good. I would say those specs online, pretty close to what I'm measuring here with my Game Boy, which I wouldn't expect any different. Now, let's go use those same numbers and compare it with the Lego Game Boy. So first thing we did was the width, and it was 90 millimeters is what it should be. And this one comes in at 87.8. The height, 148 millimeters. This one comes in at 144. And then the depth will go on the bottom as well. That one should come in at 32. And we are at 32.1. Pretty close there. We should also measure the cartridges because that's a good indicator of how close it looks to the actual original. And we'll do Tetris first, which is an actual cartridge. Let me zero this out. The width at the top point, 57.1 millimeters. The Lego one comes in at 54.2, a little bit smaller. The length, .1. For the Lego, 67.0. Obviously, their focus of making this Lego Game Boy was to make it as close as possible to a real Game Boy, and I think they did an excellent job. Cartridges look awesome. Putting this together was kind of fun, and from a distance, yeah, I think it could pass for a Game Boy. Obviously, you would notice right away with the little Lego corners and sides because of those lines being shown, but really, it's pretty neat, especially when you have the display moving when you tilt it, and you can change those, and you have other cartridges you can put in as well. It's just a really cool looking Lego set to put next to your original, and I am definitely going to do that with this one. I only have one Game Boy in my possession, is this one, and only a few games. Besides Tetris, I have that Donkey Kong Land 2, and I have a wrestling one as well. Comment down below and let me know what you all think. Curious if any of you picked up a Lego Game Boy and had the experience of what I just did, putting this together and comparing it with an original. That's about it for this video. This is the Lego Game Boy number 72046 that came out in 2025. Hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, keep that gaming passion from the past alive by living it today. Take care, everyone.